Hi, everybody. This is Sumaira. And for this week, I'm going to go ahead and share mine and my family's personal migration story. Um, I was born in Kabul, Afghanistan. And at the time that I was born, the country was going through a very brutal civil war. Unfortunately, Afghanistan has been in conflict ever since the country was invaded by the Soviets in the 1980s. And although the Soviets were defeated and left Afghanistan in, I believe, 1989, once they left, there was a power vacuum that was created in the country, which led to a very brutal civil war among all the different ethnic groups and ethnic factions in the country. So I was born during this very brutal civil war in Kabul. And thankfully, my family was able to escape from the country and flee into neighboring Pakistan. And when we were in Pakistan, that's when I believe my family was able to apply for asylum to come and live in the United States. And we were very, very fortunate to get approved and come to the US. So I believe I was around age 5 or 6 when we did arrive in the US, and we were relocated to California, specifically in San Francisco, because that is where my grandma, my father's side of the family, were already residing. So I remember my first day when we arrived in San Francisco, when we specifically arrived at the airport. I remember that day so vividly. The most appealing or the most beautiful memory was right when we entered the greeting area. I remember seeing my grandma, and when I was younger and still now, I had such great love for my grandma. So just seeing her was the best highlight of my experience, of my first experience in the US. And then once we settled in, it was the experience became a little bit more complicated or more difficult, if I may say. First of all, the most difficult aspect was language. Even though I was young, and as a young child, maybe you don't notice as much, I still struggled with communicating with my peers, obviously, because I did not speak English fluently. So I remember when I was at school, I did start kindergarten. I remember feeling isolated because I was not able to communicate with my peers. But thankfully, since I already had family living in the area, my cousin from my dad's side, he was the same age as me, and he was also in my kindergarten class. And I was very fortunate to have him because he would translate for me. So anytime the teacher would give instructions, or any of my classmates wanted to communicate with me, they would say it to my cousin, and then he would translate it into Farsi for me. So I was very fortunate to have him. And regardless of even having him, I still remember it was a struggle because when you're a kid, you just want to fit in. You want to be like the rest of your peers. So that was the biggest struggle, not speaking the language. But thankfully, young kids are able to pick up language very quickly. So within a year, by first grade, I was already speaking English pretty fluently, and I didn't feel as isolated. And I was able to communicate, and I was able to make many friends, and I started excelling in school as well. So I believe my struggles coming at a very young age to the US, it's not comparable to other individuals who come to the US at a much older age, like in their preteens or in their teens, especially in adulthood, and not being able to speak the language. That is a much bigger obstacle to overcome, learning a new language at an older age. Um, Concerning other aspects of my migration story, I remember another culture shock was just uh, the way, I guess, people dressed. I mean, being born in Afghanistan and growing up in, not growing up, but living a few years in Pakistan while we um, waited for our asylum case to get approved, they dress more conservatively, right? They cover up, and When I came to the US, I remember the first time I went to the beach and I saw everybody in bikinis. I was just shocked. I was like, wow, people are in their underwear. What? What's going on? So I do remember that was biggest culture shock. But again, you're a child, and as time goes by, you slowly assimilate. And yeah, I think those were just the main things that stand out in my memory. Everything else was positive, and yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.